Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities we may have today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, we're starting off here on the daily. We have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. Now what's the daily showing us? Yesterday we closed out bearish, though at the same time you can see we filled this daily imbalance now to 100%. And also took obviously some sell side liquidity there, which caused price to pull back from there, right? So we can see that long wick here where price had retreated once we closed that POI. Now we still have another POI below here on the daily, as you can see, which also runs into the order block here. Okay, so price may still be attracted to go lower, right, into this fair value gap and order block below here. However, we do have to consider the fact that we have now mitigated this, and this may cause some reaction, some sort of pullback, maybe to the imbalance above as well, right? Or just to seek out some buy side liquidity, maybe above the previous daily high. So bear that in mind. We've taken sell side liquidity on a higher time frame and closed a POI, right, which may cause us to be bullish somewhat, even if it's temporarily, to seek out buy side liquidity, which so far today we are quite bullish. Right, so we're still pushing higher as we speak. The nearest buy side liquidity is above the previous daily high if price makes it to that point. On DXY we also closed our daily imbalance above here, above the previous weekly highs, and you can see that buy side liquidity taken there above these highs and the closure of this POI. Obviously we have another POI above, as we do with EU below, right? So price may be drawn into that area, or it could be drawn towards this imbalance below here, as we have this daily imbalance here. So price obviously so far is bearish. It looks like a sweep of buy side liquidity, mitigation of a higher time frame POI, and price is obviously seeking some sell side liquidity, reflecting what we're seeing above here on EU. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see what the lower time frames are showing us. Now analyzing this 4 hour price action, you can see where we have that daily imbalance, we also have those 4 hour imbalances, which is great for a future draw on price, right? Below price, you can see we're clearly moving bearish. We have our lower lows, lower highs. Okay, now as we've come into this area here and filled this daily imbalance, this initial one just above here with this line, price is looking rather corrective. The momentum has slowed since this type of price action, right, where we're having sweeps of buy side liquidity, strong breakdowns, leaving behind order blocks. Order block here, sweep of internal liquidity, strong breakdown. Then now here the candles are getting smaller, the candles are getting more wicks, right, and these are more internal 1 hour structures, I would say. But either way we're making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? So no denying that direction and that trend. So these may just be future targets, of course, and still draw price below. However, as I've been saying for the past couple of days on the 4 hour, we don't have any obvious POIs like we do up here with these order blocks and imbalances. Most of these are being wicked in the same day, right? Any imbalances being closed and prices just continuing. So when we do have this possibility of a pullback, say from here where we've mitigated these daily imbalances, if you notice, we're going to have trend lines on a lower time frame, because you can see we've got these wick highs building up here in a trend line fashion all the way down. So possible targets, and these targets lead right up to this 4 hour imbalance with order block and where that daily imbalance is above. So we are building that buy side liquidity, which price, after taking sell side liquidity, could start to aim for, right? And we could see opportunities to come for these highs on the way up. Now, as I mentioned, right, we have taken the sell side liquidity, but our structure is still bearish. We may just be coming for some sort of internal buy side liquidity, you know, around these highs or this previous daily high, and we could continue downwards towards our targets. This may be left for future dates, but it is there for a draw on price. At the moment, we're not breaking structure and heading towards this area just yet, so I'm not going to commit to the idea, but just want to recognize we are building now a trend line, and you know how price likes to mitigate and come for those trend lines when it's ready. Right, we've built similar trend lines here on DXY. So I hope that's clear. I hope that's not too confusing. Okay, so price, yes, there is 50-50. Of course, if we go with structure and structures on our side and a recent trend, then of course the bearish direction favors us if we find the right type of entry in POY. The best POYs for me on these higher time frames are up here. So there may be some internal opportunities on the lower time frames, but just looking at the 4 hour, okay, it's starting to tell a story that we may in the future start to come higher for these POY drawn prices and this trend line here once we've met enough support or taken enough sell side liquidity. So no clear bias for me here on the 4 hour. So let's go down to the 1 hour and see what that shows us. So zoomed out on the 1 hour just for the moment, just to point out, right, it's not just a daily imbalance here that I take notice of as a POY, it's also sell side liquidity from previous lows, right? So previous lows were mitigated yesterday as well, okay, which obviously sponsoring some sort of bullish reaction here, okay? Same on DXY, right? We have these little internal 1 hour highs here, which were obviously mitigated yesterday, as well as its previous day highs, I believe, above here too. So now zooming back into price, I hope it's fairly obvious what I was saying to you on the 4 hour, where we've started to create this trend line effect here of buy side liquidity, right? Highs here, 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 above here, and all the way up to here, to this daily imbalance, 1 hour imbalance, 4 hour imbalance, 1 hour order block, all of those confluences up there. So we have been making our corrective way down to these daily imbalances here, right? And these tops just happen to start making a trend line which can be mitigated in the future. So I think that's very clear here on the 1 hour. Now if I go into the 1 hour price structure itself, you can see we've got high here which sweeps internal buy side liquidity, makes a lower low, pulls back, right? We've swept some internal buy side liquidity that may not be as clear as this one. Eventually, you know, we break down, making that lower low, so lower highs eventually lead to the lower lows. We pull back bullish, sweep some internal high here, and break down and make a lower low. So I've just pointed out this small internal bearish leg here. Now you could count it from higher if you want to, but I'm just going to concentrate on this leg here, which I believe is clear because we swept buy side liquidity, got bearish momentum, and made a lower low here. Within this area is a premium, and within this area is a discount. Overnight in the evening we pulled up very correctively, and now you can see we're having momentum during the London Open. So we are still in the premium. We have not yet broken out of this leg. So if we're using this bearish leg with our bearish recent trend, right, internal trend, there's a possibility we respect this area. Now you can see this purple box which I've laid out as a 1 hour order block, right, because it did leave that behind. We've obviously been mitigating it this morning, but as long as we respect this leg, I believe there's possibility for lower prices to head towards this daily imbalance here as a draw on price. Now I think what's even better is DXY swept that sell side liquidity and also made that higher high and has now pulled back, but it's very close to its previous daily low. If we sweep this previous daily low as sell side liquidity and respect this high here, respecting this structure on EU, that means SMC divergence, which shows weakness in EU, refusing to make that higher high possibly, and we may head for lower prices, right? So that's another confluence that'd be on side. Lower high where we've made a lower low, and then that sell side liquidity per the rules of SMC divergence could be used then to sponsor higher prices on DXY, to come for these highs, to come for this corrective trend line it's been making overnight, and also on EU for us to come for this trend line and make our lower low to be drawn towards our imbalance here. So I think so far on the hourly, the bias is giving me is shorts, okay? So we could respect this structure here, or we could come up and sweep buy side liquidity, okay? That's not impossible too, but so far I'm hoping for a respect of this structure. A sweep of sell side liquidity on DXY would be nice, right? We're sweeping internal buy side liquidity here, which we'll see on the lower time frames, and internal sell side liquidity here as we're doing on the lower time frames. So we may not come for that previous daily low, but that would be a great confluence to add to the picture of a bearish leg, premium, right, strong high, possibly heading for this low towards this confluence, right? So that would be the narrative it would create for me. So that's what I'm seeing from this 1 hour. I don't want to trade long, not against this trend line, and also not against this structure, order flow and bias, okay, until we break structure clearly on the 1 hour and start making our order flow towards this area. So I'm going to ignore the longs for now until 1 hour structure shifts. So in saying that, let's go down to the M15, see what opportunities we may have for this morning. So M15, what do you have for us? You can see the order flow since yesterday is still bearish for me. Sweep of buy side liquidity, go on to make that lower low, right? Fill that daily imbalance here. We have another daily imbalance below, it's a drawn price, as I've mentioned many times. We pull back very correctively overnight, and in Asia, we swept some internal sell side liquidity on the London Open, sweeping Frankfurt's low, and have continued with our corrective order flow towards this high here. So as mentioned, we have taken plenty of sell side liquidity. I'm not too surprised we're heading towards buy side liquidity to take this high, but I'm hoping for respect of this structure, and then possibly hoping for, if we're going to pull back more, a sweep of this previous daily low on DXY. So if we get this sweep here on DXY, nice low sweep closeout, and then a break of structure, preferably to pull back, to go higher, to come for this trend line, okay, and this high. Now, what I would expect that to look like on EU, come back, sweep its own internal high here, while that sweeps its previous daily low, and then break down, okay. So the breakdown may be towards this low here. We may create some structure to break off structure there, but right now with the current price action on the M15, I'm just going to call this the M15 low. We may have M5 internal structure that looks better at the time. Alright, so break this low here, and then I want that good, possibly corrective pullback to our order block with imbalance, right? There should be an imbalance here, I would hope, from the momentum of the break of structure, and then we can trade short towards our lows. So it doesn't have to be this corrective, but I would like at least, you know, one lower high in here as an inducement, right, which will be buy side liquidity for our order block. So let me start to annotate this. Break of structure around here, order block with imbalance left behind around here, some kind of inducement, possibly high, which would be buy side liquidity, which we would be mitigating for our entry to go short, stop loss just above the highs, aiming wherever our strategy tells us to aim, something like this. Of course, to add to the flavor of confluences, we could have an internal buy side liquidity sweep here, which breaks off structure. After that, then we have that pullback, okay. And at that same time, I expect a possible previous daily low sweep of sell side liquidity on DXY. And now all of these confluences together with the higher time frame narrative and structure to head towards this low here, I would be more than willing to enter this trade. So I think that's the main opportunity for me. This one would look great, just respecting this structure with the sell side liquidity below here possibly, and break of structure. Now something like this may happen, of course, higher up, could be above this high here, could be above this high here possibly, but you would have to look out for the negatives along that way, possibly 1 hour structure shifting, right, to head towards here. But at the moment, I'm favoring those shorts, and this would be my #1 priority if something like this happens. So I hope you gained value from that. I hope that was clear. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.